Jackie Clark, and today I'm joined by sex educator, creator of the Vagina Liberator, and author of the Self Pleasure Workbook, Table for One, Miss Jasmine Daniels. Jasmine, thank you so much for being here.
Hi.
Hey,
Thank
girl,
you
how
for
are
having me.
you? I'm loving the white. I'm loving the red lipstick and the bold
Thank
earrings.
you.
I'm excited. So, as you know, this is Peace and Purpose, and I'm super excited to talk about peace and purpose of life, but more importantly, peace and purpose for intimacy, self pleasure, and ultimately healing of the mind, body, and soul. Obviously, we are talking predominantly for women, but men, take what resonates, leave the rest. Um, and see how you can help yourself or your spouse or your partner and just ultimately get to a better space and peace in life. So I want to know a little bit about you. So tell me, how did you become a sexuality educator and intimacy coach?
It has been a journey. So first, shout out to FAMU. That's my alma mater. I went there. I graduated 2013, and I had a bachelor's degree in occupation and wellness. At the time, that degree was specifically made for you to go into your master's to get an occupational therapy degree. However, my science GPA was too low, so I didn't get accepted into the program. I know, right? But during my bachelor's degree, as we're on track headed towards the master's, I had a professor just going through all the ways occupational therapists can make money. And she mentioned a sex surrogate. And I was the only one in class like, what is that? So occupational therapy is basically helping people get back to some functioning of their ADLs, activities of daily living. And sex is a part of ADLs, even though we don't acknowledge it as much or talk about it. Imagine something happening to you, a car accident, and that can impact your sex life. So people with physical disabilities, they may need help with navigating their sex life, more specifically their positions. So I was so intrigued. I'm like, oh my God, I would love to be someone's sex surrogate. But of course, I did not get into the program. So moving fast forward, I graduated, came home, I started teaching at a Title I middle school, and I was a health teacher, and I just fell in love with sex education. But prior to that, I just wanted to rewrite the sex education curriculum because I don't remember sex ed growing up. So I thought the natural process was to become a teacher, and that's not the process at all. So I decided to become a teacher, and just seeing I quickly became the young girl that I needed to my students when we were discussing sex education. So one of my friends introduced me to public health, and then I returned to FAMU and I obtained my master's in public health, where I focus on sex education and policy. And then I started working as a sexuality educator over the years. I've been a sexuality educator for 8 years, and met so many women throughout my journey, have coached hundreds of women throughout my journey about their sexual life. And I noticed the common thing: a lot of women are not 100% comfortable with sex, and they do not masturbate, and they cannot identify their orgasms.
Yeah.
So that created the Vagina Liberator. I wanted to free the vaginas because my motto: if you're going to have sex, you better enjoy it.
First, it was free the
Yeah.
nips. Now it's free the vagina. But I totally agree. If you're going to have sex or be intimate, you should definitely enjoy it. What did your family think when you told them this is what I want to do? Like, mom, dad, cousins, sisters, brothers, I'm going to become a sex liberator. What did they think about this?
Well, I was always the rebel in the family, so it wasn't a conversation. I just did it.
Mm,
And it's just like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm a sex educator. And it's like, I don't think anyone was really surprised though.
okay.
I didn't get any surprising responses. It was just like, oh God, like one of those or whatever, like she's still up to this kind of thing. But my mom is very supportive. My family is very supportive of me and my journey. My mom is super proud, and she messed up all the time. She's like, my daughter is the vaginal liberator. I'm like, mine's vagina.
I love that. I love it because sex and intimacy is still such a taboo subject, even though we are seeing a
Yes.
lot more openness, liberation, a lot more forthcoming with information. It's still very much frowned upon. And I feel a lot of people feel that intimacy has been taken out of it. It's become such a act of just doing and less of just feeling as well. So I wanted to ask you, how do you define intimacy?
Intimacy is name is closeness with self or with someone else, and it's a very important step to sex. So a lot of times, especially now with women who are just dating, and there's this phrase called a sneaky link, which is a person you're having sexual relationship with that no one knows about, which is perfectly fine. But people often think that if you're not in an exclusive relationship, sex should be wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And that's not the case. You can still have closeness with various relationships, exclusive, one night stand, sneaky link, open, polyamory, whatever. That's a part of sex. A lot of times, and a lot of women who are cohabitating with a mate or are married and or have children would tell you that sex starts when they wake up in the morning and they have support in the household, like, oh, you wash the dishes, oh, you got the kids ready for school, that because you're relieving a pressure for them from them or a duty. And now instead of spending the extra 30 minutes getting the child ready, maybe they can spend that extra 30 minutes getting themselves ready, making themselves prettier, so intimacy is super important. Getting to know your partner, again, regardless of your relationship status, just spending quality time together. That's where sex really begins. And that makes a difference in the outcome of sex.
I totally agree with that because I think a lot of people misconstrued intimacy for just thinking it's always a sexual act. It's acts of kindness, acts of service, words of affirmation. It's definitely the love languages. And then ultimately, the pleasurable side of things, of course.
Yes.
But I love that you really broke that down because I find a lot of people, especially I find men, not to target y'all, but I find a lot of
Right.
men, they hear intimacy and they think, oh my gosh, she's in love. And oh my God, it has to
Yes.
be this. And it's just like, why can't I have some type of connection? And I think that is what people are missing these days is connection with one another. And speaking of connection, one of the things I know, just, doing research about on you and kind of understanding what you do is not just about, intimacy with a partner or sexual acts with a partner. It's also about self intimacy and pleasure in terms of sex or pleasure in terms of, taking a bubble bath and, just getting to yourself. But a lot of women through research, through conversation with my girlfriends, a lot of women feel ashamed after pleasing themselves. Why is that?
That's an amazing question. So it goes back to our childhood values, what was instilled in us. So masturbation for girls, it's taboo. Good girls don't do that. You don't touch yourself. That's nasty. We are not giving the autonomy to explore our bodies sexually as boys are. So if you ever notice in a household where there's a girl and a boy, or just a boy, at some point in age through puberty, everyone approach the door loudly, make your presence be known as before, knock loud before you enter the door. The door is closed and locked. You just boys aren't necessarily, yes, son, go ahead and jerk off, but it's an unspoken permission that they're given, and there's a respect that is given for them in privacy. But for girls, we don't get that luxury. We have those same sexual urges as boys when we are going through puberty. Think of yourself as an adult. You are most aroused when you are ovulating or when you're on your cycle. A little girl that's 10 years old who's on her menstrual cycle is going through the exact same feeling you're going through as an adult woman. But no one is talking to this 10-year-old and letting her know, okay, you may be feeling some sexual urges, and this is how you can, because no one wants to imagine their daughter is sexually active, not even with self. So if you're in a household where you are taught that masturbating is a sin and it's something that you should not do, then as you become an adult and you start to navigate your own sexual life, once you start to dibble and dabble a little, there can be guilt that comes with that. So, with sex, with yourself, or with a partner, you are releasing hormones, serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, oxytocin. And usually, what happens if you're doing something with someone or something new that goes against your values, those hormones are surging and you are releasing them higher than normal. And what happens is that you can experience an orgasmic crash. What goes up must come down. And this crash can happen 24 to I think about 72 hours after the sexual act. And what that crash looked like is guilt, remorse, shame, embarrassment. Some people have reported suicidal thoughts. You may feel disgusted with yourself or with a partner if it's with a partner. So it's a lot that takes place in that. So for women who experience a feeling of disgust or shame after masturbation, they experience an orgasmic crash. And it is rooted back to how they grew up and the messages they receive about masturbation as a child.
That was a lot to take in, but it was
That
so
was a lot.
it was so eloquently broken down, and I'm so grateful that you were able to articulate that and break it down to layman terms for everybody, because we don't, I never thought of it that way, that, because I don't have brothers, I have a sister. So it was just us growing up in the house. I have male cousins, obviously, but yes, I've heard the stories from the male, like even some of my older guy friends to this day, like if they live at home, their parents don't just bust through their room, where I know just my door gets flown open and it's like, what are you doing in here? What's going on? But with the guys, I have noticed it's always a knock, knock. And I'm like, it's interesting. I mean, now that I'm older, everybody knocks on my door just because I'm a grown somebody. You just don't barge in.
Right.
Bills in this house, so you ain't barging nowhere. But it's interesting that you say that, because it's true. And yes, I think with women, with girls, that purity, that what am I trying to say? That innocence is put on to us at so young, so we feel some type of way. So how can we women get unstuck with feeling this guilt? Like, what are some tips that you can share with us to get unstuck for feeling guilty for making ourselves happy?
Understand that you deserve pleasure. You deserve to know your body. I always say, in hindsight, it should be the opposite. We should definitely be our first sexual partners before we give our bodies to someone else. Because ultimately, especially typically people start having sex as teenagers. You're giving another person the chance to experiment with you before you experiment with yourself. So women should definitely understand in itself that it's okay to want pleasure. It's okay to want to enjoy sex and actually be a participant in it and to go for it and work through it. It's truly a journey. It's going to take a lot of orgasmic crashes that's going to take place, but you nurture yourself, you take care of yourself after, which is called aftercare, to help combat those negative feelings. Aftercare is exactly what it says in the name. Take care of yourself after sex, whether it's with a partner or is solo. So that can be in various forms. Me personally, I like to cuddle up with a long body pillow, soft fabric on the skin. You might want to eat or drink something that is sweet. It may look like taking a bubble bath, watching a feel-good movie or a comedy, put on some good music that you can jam to. You just do whatever you have to do to take care of yourself. You can journal your experience if you are a person who loves to journal. Just take care of yourself, but those crashes are going to happen. They may happen until you become comfortable with the idea. I remember starting off masturbating when I was a child. It was touch and go because I knew it was wrong, right?
Yeah.
And my father died when I was 6, so I will always hear, your dad is so proud of you, he watches over you, he sees everything you do. So after masturbating, it would hit me. Oh, my dad is watching me masturbate. Oh my God, I felt so disgusting. Like my daddy just saw me, and I had to work through that, but I didn't know that was anything to work through. So as a child, my masturbation life was sporadic because I didn't want that feeling of my daddy just saw me. But then if I had like, so I probably masturbate maybe twice a year, and I'm being kind. So and then in those moments, I was just like, I have these high sexual urges. I have to masturbate, and I'm like, oh my god, Dad, I'm so sorry. And then I try to like just forget about it. But as I grew up and grew older, you start learning some things and then you start unlearning some things. And it wasn't as bad, but it took a journey for me to not think of my dad watching over me. Because, we're taught that as well. But you definitely need patience. You have to give yourself grace. You have to figure out what are your beliefs about masturbation. What were you taught about masturbation, and how do you feel about it now, and why? Process that, which is why I wrote my book Table for One. I wrote worksheets and journal prompts to help women navigate those feelings and emotions, and it's titled Table for One because that's something you really have to sit with yourself, and you have to digest it and really think about it, and it's all a journey. You take your time with it.
I completely love that, the table for one. And I like the idea of knowing yourself first because, a lot of women get into their experiences with somebody else. And then, they take a long time to kind of really get to know what they like because they're letting somebody else dictate sexually what should feel good or what should be the outcome,
Yes.
and should be that rule. So I really, really, really like that. I like the idea of sitting with self. And when you talked about aftercare, I've never heard this term before, but it's interesting because first when you're like aftercare, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, go shower, clean up and stuff, which you do, but I didn't think of it as almost like
Right.
self-care, right? As in terms of the self-care side of things, take a
Mm-hmm.
bubble bath, listen to music, cook a meal, like make yourself feel good from the overall experience. But you also talked about knowing your body. What does that mean? What do you mean knowing your body? How can women know their bodies or get ways to start knowing their bodies?
Masturbate for sure. Because when you're masturbating, when I'm speaking in terms of masturbating, I'm not just talking about rubbing one out really quick. No, take time out and have sex with yourself. Prepare yourself the same as you would a companion. When you have those moments of, oh my God, I really want to make love to my partner. I'm going to get my hair done. I'm going to do my makeup or even put on some lip gloss, moisturize my skin, take a nice shower, go all out for yourself as you would a companion, and take your time rubbing every inch of your body from head to toe. Here's a secret. I barely use toys. When I masturbate all the time and I barely use toys. I prefer toys with my partner, not solo. But that's rooted in preference. But I bring that up to say I take my time with myself, rubbing my body, figuring out what are my erogenous zones, which are parts of your body when stimulated creates arousal. What are those parts on my body? Because those can change. You might be a breast woman. You may enjoy your breasts to be fondled or stimulated or squeezed or whatever to create arousal. That's not everyone. And that might be, your preferred erogenous zone for 5 years. And then on year 6, someone stimulating your breast and you don't feel anything. Your body change with the seasons, and as time, as you grow through life and start have different stressors and different lifestyle changes, your body changes as well. Your erogenous zones change as well. So you need to keep up with yourself and figure out, oh, I didn't know this area, this feels really good when I apply this amount of pressure here. Oh, when I use some ice here, this feels amazing. Do some temperature play. Like, just take time out and actually have sex with yourself. And then from there, you'll be able to identify, okay, how long does it take me to become aroused once these parts of my body are stimulated? What do I need to create an orgasm? What exactly are my orgasms? Because it's not all squirting. And I really want to liberate all of us, male and female, all genders, from the idea of thinking if squirting did not take place, an orgasm did not take place. That simply is an untrue notion. When you are experiencing an orgasm, we have to understand, what does it mean? An orgasm is simply the release of sexual tension. You are releasing something. And that release looks differently from different people. There are over 13 ways people can experience an orgasm. It can be released through tears, through vaginal contractions, which is a fan favorite, through uterine contractions, muscle spasms, increased heart rate, shortness of breath. Your blood pressure may rise temporarily. Of course, squirting, that is a form of a release as well. But I say all that to say, orgasms are happening. They only last for a few seconds, and it's just as fast as they come, they can be easily missed. So when you are masturbating and you're taking time out to have sex with yourself, or engage in solo sex rather, you are able to recognize your orgasms without the pressure that a lot of times we put on ourselves or from our partner. And I know that was a lot. That was a lot.
It, it makes sense because when you think about it, I think pornography has really skewed the views of an orgasm, because everybody thinks, especially men, think you have to be this loud, yelling, screaming down, whole body convulsing type of person. And there are people who are quiet. They have, there are people that are loud, like there are people that are more softer. And it doesn't always necessarily mean your legs have to be shaking. Like you said, it could be contractions, it could be squirting, it could be heavy breathing, but those are not common recognized signs of an orgasm. So what I'm hearing from you is that the education and the awareness around what an orgasm is has to change for men and women, because it's not always one fix. What worked for your partner or what your partner did might not work for the next person you're with, because everybody is different. I just really love that you broke that down.
Correct.
I've never even looked at it that way. You just think, okay, if you're not screaming and hollering, then it wasn't it. So I definitely, I mean, just from what
Yes.
so I find that very interesting. I know you talked about it a little bit, but like, what is the main goal, main purpose of self pleasure, and how does it really help restore your mind, body, and soul, like in one lump sum?
Self pleasure is different from masturbation, but the two can go together. Self pleasure is in the name, doing what feels good. So, everyone attending this conference, this is a form of self pleasure because it's what feels good to you. This is something that you wanted to do for yourself just by showing up. This is self pleasure. Taking a shower and having a specific body wash reserved, that is self pleasure. Taking your time to moisturize your skin with your favorite lotion, that is self pleasure. Your favorite fragrance, what you eat that you really enjoy, your favorite beverage. My friends always laugh at me after a long day. I'm like, oh my God, I need a ginger ale. That's self pleasure for me. They're like, girl, not wine. I'm like, I need a ginger ale. No, no wine. I want some ginger ale. Yeah. So that is self pleasure for me, and it's all rooted in doing what feels good for you. Our lives are so busy, especially if we have a partnership or we have multiple partners. You have to have time just for me. And yeah, it can be hair and nails and makeup. Okay, it can be massages too. That's cool. But it can also be as simple as not having anything on, taking all of your extensions out, wiping your face off, having on a big ugly moo and watching your favorite television show. That's something that feels good, especially if you are a woman that's always on. You know how we have some women, you're always on. The moment you can be off, hey, that's a form of self pleasure. So just making sure you're doing some things that just simply feel good to you, that is self pleasure. And that's something that should be done every day, even if it's 5 minutes. It can be something simple and it can be something grand. It just depends on the time that you have and what you need in that moment. But self pleasure should be incorporated daily. And I can give you a little grace, if not daily, weekly for sure. Do something that just feels good.
I can resonate with that because as you were talking, I was thinking like self pleasure for me is literally taking off the wig, lying in my pajamas, watching like Jurassic Park. I am always on as an entrepreneur, as a creative, as the owner of my own
Mm-hmm.
business. I go go go. So one of my favorite self pleasure moments is literally closing this laptop. Like when it shuts down and I'm able to out, and like it's a real like, oh my gosh, this has been off for 2 days. I just feel so liberated because I don't feel like I'm a slave to the computer. So I really
Yes.
love that you talked about that. So you created a self pleasure journal, right? Is this a journal?
Yes.
Yes, the self
Yes.
pleasure
It's a
journal.
workbook. It's a workbook and a journal.
Okay, workbook and a journal. How did this come about?
Because I grew frustrated with the women saying they never experienced an orgasm. I'm like, yes, you have. Yes, you have. Let's really just talk about it and figure out, what's happening when you are having sex. And I was like, okay, do you enjoy sex? Yes. Can you say overall sex is good? Your sex life is good? Yes. An orgasm took place. And the orgasm took place. And so when I go through these steps with them, like, did you notice this reaction in your body? This. And I'm like, and they're saying, yes, yes. I'm like, that's an orgasm. But you don't know because you haven't. I feel like, I don't know how or when, but I feel like we've been compared to men. And because men ejaculate, you can visibly see their orgasm. Their release is sperm exiting their penis. That's, we can see that. And it's a grand gesture, it's a production, for them, right? And I think somehow down the line we got compared to that, and then especially with porn and how when women are squirting, it's like, whoa, where did all that come from?
And that ain't true. It
Waterfall.
don't happen like that all the time.
It's not. And so, at the time in my life when I wrote the workbook, which was literally just a year ago, every time a woman mentioned never having an orgasm, 8 out of 10, the absence of squirting would come up. And I'm like, okay, so you don't know what an orgasm means. You don't. That's the missing link. You don't know what an orgasm means. Even when like I see these surveys all the time of the reports of heterosexual women reporting they never experienced an orgasm, and I would never take away from anyone's experience, but I'm very curious to know, with the surveys, do women actually know what an orgasm is, and can they give at least 5 examples of what an orgasm can look like, before we survey these women to see, have you ever had an orgasm? I first want to know, do you know what an orgasm means? The definition. And can you give me clear examples of an orgasm? Something as simple as authentically moaning is an orgasm. Not being performative, but something happened and you let out a sigh of relief, like you authentically moan. That's an orgasm because it's all about releasing something, and it's a short occurrence. It's
Yeah.
only a couple of seconds. I remember when Janae Aiko came out, I think a year ago, and she mentioned I had 9 orgasms. The internet went crazy. I'm like, y'all probably had 10 orgasms before and you didn't notice or you didn't pay attention, especially if you're hung up on squirting. You're going to miss it every time. The sensation that you have to urinate, that's an orgasm. But if you're having that sensation and you're like, oh, this is my moment, I'm going to finally squirt, and then that moment passed and you're like, it didn't happen. It's like, but it did. Squirting didn't happen, but the orgasm did. So I created the workbooks. I'm like, let's go to the basics. Let's masturbate. But I understand because I'm a Black woman and I was a Black little girl with a Black mama. So I know I know what you were taught growing up. And I'm like, okay, let's undo this. Let's unlearn it. Let's unpack it. Let's recognize where it come from, and let's redefine our belief system, because it's okay to drop some of the beliefs you were taught. It's okay. That doesn't mean your parent was a bad parent. They did the best they could, what they had. But as the new generation, come up, it's our job to unlearn and relearn and teach. So the workbook was created for women to liberate themselves from the idea of their body is a foreign concept or is uncharted territory. And I'm like, no, master your body. Take your time with your body so that you can quickly identify your erogenous zones, what you need to get started with sex so that you can have an effective way to engage in foreplay. And also, what do you need to experience in an orgasm, how your orgasms look. Now, yes, you will have preferred orgasms over others. Like me and my friends, we have this conversation all the time. To them, if they didn't have the vaginal contractions and orgasms, it can take place. I'm like, yes, it did. You just didn't have your preferred orgasm, which was the vaginal contractions, you know? So it's super important that we, you know, do this. But I also understood, okay, Jasmine, you're telling me to masturbate, but how? Where do I start? So that's where Table for One come in at, to help you along this journey. And I created it's research based. So I created all of these journal prompts to help you break down your thoughts and feelings about orgasms and masturbation, and
Mhm.
to work through it. And then also I gave you so much education. This is how your body creates vaginal lubrication. These glands need to be stimulated. This is why you squirt. You may not be a squirter, but you're probably a creamer, and both are okay. This is why you need to use lube. Lube is not just for gay men, and it's not just for anal sex. It's actually something that's going to help you with your sexual journey. But you want to use water based when you're using condoms and silicone toys, and you might want to use silicone when you're having unprotected sex. So it's so much education
Hmm.
with the journal prompts. And there's also a space for you to free write. I call it intimate notes for you to journal. In the front, I teach you how to track your own ovulation date, because those beautiful period apps are only predictors. They tell you what you tell it.
Yeah.
And for family planning purposes, it's super important for all women to know when they're ovulating, assuming you have a regular menstrual cycle.
Mm.
But yeah, it's super important, for you to learn your body, and that's all about body mastery. So many women are taking Plan B incorrectly and unnecessarily because they had unprotected sex. It's like, girl, if you was out in your ovulation window, you don't need it. It's okay. You can't get pregnant. You're done. You don't need to take that pill. But you don't know that because it's just a lot. We're greatly
Got it.
misinformed of our reproductive system.
I mean, y'all better go get the book. This is all I know is you guys got the book. It's more. It sounds like it's more than just journaling. It's really a sense of getting to know all of yourself, and helping yourself out in a multitude of ways. Because yeah, like I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you just hear Plan B. Okay, as soon as if he ejaculated inside you, you have to go get it because you're miraculously going to get pregnant. But it's yeah, if you weren't ovulating, then I mean,
You're
it
good.
happens to the. I'm sure there's somebody who wasn't ovulating that somehow got pregnant, but the chances of that are, far and few between. So I wanted to talk about pH balances because I hear all these artists and men online all talking about, oh, women, you got to do this. Your pH is this, that. A lot of them don't know that they also contribute to the change in our pH balance. And y'all ain't ready for that conversation, but I wanted to get to it because I wanted to talk about that because it's become a more bigger topic now. A lot of men are using that as, I don't want to say a lot of men, and I don't want to stereotype, but a lot of people use it as a way of shaming women because, we are our own self-cleaning oven. We
Yep.
self-clean, and, things have to get out of there. And there's going to be times when it's not ripe, and there's going to be times when it is. So can we talk about pH balances and how can women support themselves in creating a more healthier pH? And how can men also help that as well?
Yes. So pH balance is widely discussed. And that does go back to knowing your body, like you mentioned earlier.
Mm.
We are a self cleansing oven. We discharge. You're supposed to discharge throughout the month. Your discharge tells you a story. There's discharge to tell you when you're ovulating. There's discharge to tell you when your period is coming. You do not have to wear panty liners if you choose not to. That's preference.
Mm.
But your pH balance is simply the balance of what acid and what's the other one? Your alkaline and all that stuff.
Mhm.
The compounds of it. And women, for one, stop using products that claim to clean the vagina. The vagina is internal. Nothing should be going inside of your canal to clean it. Now the vulva, which is external, I'll give you grace there.
Mm.
I recommend using antibacterial soap because with your skin is your biggest organ, and you're sweating, you're creating oil. Bacteria will sit on the skin. So before you pull out any of your body washes, use an antibacterial soap first. A lot of people say, "Oh my God, it will strip your skin of your oil. It dries your skin out." Well, that's what lotion and moisturizers are for, but you really need to strip all of that oil and sweat and get that bacteria off of your skin, which
Mm.
bacteria is what creates what causes odor on your skin. Well, not your vagina, but on your skin. Bacteria cause, so I want to be clear. Your bacteria can cause, but bacteria does cause odor too inside. But stay with me. So when you're taking a shower, you definitely want to use an antibacterial soap on the external part, which is your vulva. But do
Mhm.
not part your lips open and go inside with the soap because you can dry out. You can create irritation that can alter your pH balance and throw it off. You want to use just water inside. Once you start to part those lips open, make sure all the soap is gone, and then just clear water, part your lips, and rinse inside. Products that advertise, oh, it get rid of odors. If there's an odor, there's a problem. A problem can be an infection,
Mhm.
not necessarily an STI. It could be an STI, but it can also be maybe bacteria vaginosis. So if you're experiencing odor, you need a OBGYN. You need to get some tests ran. You need to get a diagnosis to figure out what's causing this odor, because using a product that claims to get rid of odor, you're only masking the problem. So it's going to keep
Mhm.
coming back and back and back. So you have to get to the root of what's causing you to have an odor. Every vagina has its own special scent. It's not made to smell like a floral shop. you know, avoid putting any scented products between your legs. Lotion, body wash, perfume. Your vagina wasn't meant to smell like easy Sunday morning. It wasn't meant to smell that way. It should have its own unique scent, but it should not be sweet or anything of that nature. So to keep your pH balance in check, start with basic hygiene. Don't put anything inside of your vagina. Two, increase your water intake. Water is super important. You have to hydrate, and also, a hydrated vagina is a good vagina. It's going to help make sex better, and it's also going to help you become wetter because you have
Mhm.
glands in your vagina that creates lubrication. So you want to make sure, excuse me, that those glands are well hydrated. So increase your water intake significantly. Your
Mhm.
preferred beverage should be water over anything else. Yes, still drink your juice and your sodas and your wine and your cocktails, but make sure you have mostly water. Your diet as well. Please increase your vegetables and your fruit intake. No, if you eat a pineapple, you're not going to taste like a
Just
pineapple.
about to ask you. Everyone's talking about all the,
No.
you have to have eat pineapples 6 hours before you're being intimate
No.
because it's going to be sweeter down there. Is that a myth?
It is a myth, but I can say the truth of it is what you eat, what we consume, it comes out through our pores. It comes out through our sweat. It comes out through our vaginal fluid, and for guys, their sperm. So if your diet is crappy, it's basically full of toxins, which is why water will help, because your water is going to help remove those toxins through your urine. So if you're not drinking a lot of water and you're eating crappy, those toxins are coming out your body through urine, your fecal matter, through your sweat, and through your vaginal fluid, and for guys, your sperm. So it's not about tasting like a pineapple. It's more about not being as acidic because of your crappy diet. So if you're so eating fruits and vegetables is going to help really balance out that pH as well. So you really want to get your diet together and eat a lot of fruit. You're gonna, but you will, your taste will improve. I can give you a quick story. When I was in college, in college you have, what is called the freshman 15 or something of that nature. And so I started seeing my weight pick up, and I was going crazy with salads, but I really love balsamic vinaigrette dressing. So I was just
Yeah.
eating it. And I remember one day, me and my boyfriend were having sex, and we were having unprotected sex. So in the middle of us having sex, we stopped and we did 69. And at the time when our sex first started, we started off having oral, and then we had unprotected penetrative sex, and then we had 69. And mind you, I'm giving him oral. I taste myself on him. I immediately stopped. This was my 19-year-old self. I stopped and I asked, this is nasty. Why were you giving me oral sex? I taste very bitter. It was a very bitter taste because I was full of vinegar, right? So that, was my aha moment, because, what you consume is going to come out. It's coming out.
Yeah.
It's coming out somewhere. So you want to just make sure your diet is balanced, and that water intake will really help release those toxins through your urine. But yes, you're not going to necessarily be sweet, but you won't be bitter and sour or salty, if that makes sense. It will be a neutral taste. You should be neutral. That's your goal. You want to be neutral and taste yourself. It's your body. Stick your finger up there and taste it to see, because it's unfair how you want your partner to taste you, and you don't even want to taste it. And when you start getting that bitterness or saltiness, start to alter your diet. So that's gonna be your indicator too. Smell yourself, taste yourself, because you are your first indicator that something is wrong. So you should be all in there.
No, but it's true. Like, if you don't know yourself, you have to know these things, just even for the betterment of your own health. Because you could find out a lot of times, you'll know, and you could take yourself to the doctor and be like, something doesn't sound or smell or feel right, and you're the first response to that. You talked about don't put anything up. What do you feel about all of these yoni steams or these pussy popping pills? Your face is cringing when I said this. So I'm gonna take it as it's a no for you. What are your honest thoughts upon it? It's a no.
I hate it. I hate it so bad. And then some people are like, well, our ancestors used to do this. Listen, they used to stick a cotton root up their vaginas for pregnancy prevention. You won't do that today. A lot of stuff was trial and error, and it's just unnecessary. It's super unnecessary. And I get it. As a Black entrepreneur, I never want to stump on anyone else's business, but it is rooted in a gimmick. Again, if the advertisement is to eliminate odor, you need to see an OBGYN to figure out what is the cause of this odor, because your vagina does not need help. This thing can push out something that's 10 centimeters, you know what I mean? Like, and it can snap right back, It gets rid of an unfertilized egg and unnecessary tissue. The vagina is so beautiful and it's so complex. It can do so much. I promise you, it does not need help to clean itself. I never been a fan of any of these washes and steams and stuff. Like, we can relax another way, girl. We can go get a massage. I'm not sitting over no pot and letting some hot steam shoot up my vagina. You just don't need it. Even with, go back to answer your question too about men helping with pH balances. If you're gonna sleep around, please use a condom. Please. Don't go from, vagina unprotected, because you're mixing the bacterias and when you're ejaculating. So please just use a condom. Please just use a condom. Please use a condom. And oral hygiene. Please brush and floss your teeth when you're trying to give someone oral sex. Your mouth contains a lot of bacteria, and you're transferring the bacteria to a vagina. Oral hygiene is super important. So yeah, that's to go back to answer the pH balance. I never answered that,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, with your vagina doesn't need your help. It doesn't.
Mm,
You need your help with going to your doctor and getting your checkups. It need help with that. It need help with you, getting your partners tested for STIs and yourself. It needs help with that. Um, but other cleaning, no, just antibacterial soap on the vulva, the external part, and
mm,
water for inside. You don't need to douche. You don't need hot steam. You don't need a
mm,
suppository if you don't have a yeast infection, at least. You don't need any of those things. Those are just because we're obsessed with having pretty and smell good vaginas. It's all rooted in a gimmick. And stop letting men and the media tell you how your vagina should be. You should know how your vagina should be. Take pictures, look at it, smell it, taste it, take care of it by not adding things that it didn't ask for.
mm. I love that. And again, it goes back to taking charge of yourself and your surroundings and knowing who you are. Because like I keep hearing of these douche kits, I guess they're called or whatever. And but anytime, and I know you shouldn't always Google everything because everybody's everything nowadays telling you what this and that. But I've heard these douches. Everyone's like, be careful, you can't do them often. I saw some girls talking about she did them once a month, and apparently you're not supposed to. I was just like, I'm gonna just stay away from it all.
No, don't dish at all because what's not also discussed with dishing,
Mm,
if there is an unknown infection present in the vagina, you can help spread it because you're literally, what is it, vinegar and water? I don't even know what the contents are, but it's
right.
some liquid form you're squeezing in this bottle and you're shooting it up, and you can help spread some things that shouldn't be spread, and don't do that.
Just
Don't do
don't
it.
do
And I know that's
Don't do it, y'all.
don't do
Don't do
it.
it. Just,
You don't
if
need
you're
it.
feeling some type of way, go to your doctor, seek a professional. They will give you the things that you need to, or tell you what you really need to do. I love how you've said so much. You've dropped so many good gems and so many interesting aha moments, even for me at 35. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I should have known this. Or what is
I
this
love
about? So
that.
I really love that. So switching it up, since we have a few minutes, I want to get to know a little bit, switching it up and get to know a little bit about you. We are coming up upon the
Okay.
holiday season. So what are you looking forward to the most this holiday?
Watching Christmas movies and drinking hot cocoa and drinking all of this wine I got on the subscription I didn't need. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm not a big drinker and I signed up for a wine subscription. So I have all of these wines. So I'm really looking forward I love this time of the year. I love rom coms. I love Christmas miracle movies. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. Something so simple because I don't get a chance to watch many movies and television shows. So when I have time to do it, I really enjoy. I'm going to snuggle up on my sofa, have my glasses on with my hot cocoa or my wine, whatever is my beverage of choice. And I'm going to watch my Christmas movies. I'm super excited.
I love that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to one of my favorite Christmas movies, or holiday movies, I would say, is While You Were Sleeping with Sandra Bullock. It's an old movie.
Oh, I'm going to add that to my
Yeah,
collection. I've never saw
yeah,
that before.
her, so it's fun. And obviously Harry Potter. I know it's not really a Christmas movie, but it starts within that season. So I love watching a good Harry Potter. And actually, Santa Claus. You remember the movie with Tim Allen? They did a
I
TV series.
literally just watched it last night.
So good, so good. I can't wait for the rest of it. So I love that. What do you believe your purpose is in life?
To honestly free the vaginas around the world. I really want to help women be comfortable in
Mm,
their sexuality wherever they lie on the spectrum, whether you're more of the modest woman or you're more sexually liberated. both can exist without the other shaming the other. I want women to stop calling other women whores because this one is more sexually free than they are. You know, we can express ourselves differently sexually and still be good people. You know, my sex life doesn't make me or break me. And I want women to be comfortable in themselves and be secure with themselves wherever they lie on the spectrum. I want women to take control over their sex life and over their body and do what feels good to them. If you want to have a one night stand, do it. If you want to have random sex out of town, do it. If you want to have sex while you're in love, that's okay too. But don't shame other people. Just enjoy your sex life. It that, you know, how someone else behaves sexually, that's not going to make you come. so so I really want women to I really want women to be comfortable with who they are sexually. I made a reel the other day about tossing salad, which basically is having, you know, eating a man's booty. But the point of that reel was to let women know whatever you want to do in your bedroom, do it with a trusted partner. Don't let society have you in a chokehold and tell you how you can and cannot behave sexually, because the same people who are making rules that do not matter are doing things beyond your imagination. And your sex life is something that is sacred, is as sacred as you want it, and it's all up to you and how the trust you have with your partner. What makes a difference. If you and your partner have threesomes regularly, that's no one's business if you don't want it to be anyone's business. If you and your partner want to transition from having a monogamous relationship to an open relationship, that's no one's business. Behave how you and your partner see fit. And I think a lot, most times, going back to the beginning, where our values and our beliefs come from, that holds us back on how we want to navigate our relationships. And I don't think it's fair. And I just want women to know, whatever you choose, however you choose to navigate, however you choose to behave, is truly up to you. And it other people's opinions does not matter. Just have someone who you trust to go on that journey with you.
Absolutely. I completely resonate with that. I believe, I'm on a mindset of we really only have one life. When, whatever, whoever, God or whoever you believe in, when you leave this, or whatever reincarnation or non-reincarnation you believe in when you leave this earth, all I know is this life, this soul that I've been given, I have to live it to my best ability, because you don't know when your time is up. So I love that you're talking about just be free, and stop shaming people for the things that they're comfortable to do that you're not. And it's okay to not be comfortable to do that, because you don't have to tear somebody down. So I love that you said that. I know you have a lot of wide variety of content on your page, that's funny, as well as educational, because I see some of your content, I'd be cracking up like, girl, but it's funny, it's educational. What do you want people to walk away with when they visit you on Instagram, or they're in your book and stuff? What do you want people to walk away with?
That's a great question. I want them to walk away knowing and believing their sex life is their own. That's what I want. That's the perfect summary. I want them to know their sex life is their own.
Period. End quote. Done.
Yeah.
I love that. And lastly, what can we expect from you moving forward? What can we wait? What can we see?
A lot more conferences. I'm doing more writing for other blogs. Be on the lookout for that. One was actually released today on blowjobs. Definitely expect more email. If you enjoy my Instagram page, you're really going to enjoy my email list, because I have more freedom with that because it's mine. So subscribe to my email for more tips on more sexual tips. I'm doing lives on Instagram more to help other women tell their stories. So far, I spoke to a woman who was diagnosed with herpes. I told an abortion story recently. this week I'm going to tell an HIV story of a woman whose husband gave her HIV. So I'm really getting into storytelling and using my platform so that other women can share their stories, and other women who can relate can join in and see that they are not alone in their journeys. Like, if someone is just like it, I'm gonna find them. I'm gonna find them, and I'm gonna allow them to come and let you know it's okay.
Mm.
So be on the lookout for more Instagram lives of me telling women's stories.
I love that. And how can people find you online, on social? How can they connect with you to get the workbook that everybody should be running to go get right now? Even if you gift
Yes,
it to somebody else for the holidays, for
yes,
Valentine's Day, or just any other occasion, y'all should be supporting this different type of journal. I've never heard of one before. I've never seen this workbook journal. So I think y'all should get it. But how can people
yes.
connect with you?
For the workbook and for my email list, visit thevaginaliberator.com. And also, my book is also perfect for young women who have not, it's for all age groups, really. I mean, minus children, but young adults, especially my older adults, my millennials, anyone struggling with masturbation and understanding what their body is capable of doing, you need the book. So visit thevaginaliberator.com, subscribe to my email list. Grab your copy of the book while it lasts. It is a limited edition. On social media for Instagram and Twitter, the Vagina Liberator. On Facebook, I don't know, because Facebook won't let me say Vagina Liberator. I think it's BB Liberator. Start there, BB Liberator. But Instagram for sure. That's my baby. That's where all the fun stuff happens on Instagram.
Well, thank you so much. Y'all make sure you go ahead and connect, check in, get on the email list because you'll get all the goods that you can't get on social. You'll get all the real tea in there. Support the journal, support Jasmine, hit her up in her DMs,
Yes.
ask the questions that you need to ask, educate yourself. It was a pleasure speaking with you. I learned so much, and I feel like we could talk for hours on so many
Yes.
topics, but we only got so much time. But I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much for being here. Y'all, it's your girl, Jackie Clark. And again, my special guest, Jasmine Daniels. Thank you.
Thank you.